And we're live here with Scott talking about the ceiling for West Ham this season after 2 back-to-back wins and transformation in performances. Where could West Ham realistically hope to finish? What is our ceiling? How far could we potentially go? How far away are we from trying to challenge for Europe? Or you might think the ceiling might be top 10 or mid-table, or do you still think we're getting relegated? This is what we're going to be chatting about, and just how has Nuno got a tune out of these players who a few weeks ago, I think a lot of us had given up on and just thought they'd given up on us. So yes, Ryan and Nick are still in Prague, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, mate. Listen, happy days, happy hammers, 2 wins in a row.
I know.
It's good to come on, mate, and actually be a bit positive and talk about good results.
Mate, long time coming, isn't it? 2 wins on the spin. You know, it took us, over a year?
Yeah.
So, it's good to see. It's a good feeling. Put a bit more positivity around the place, around the ground. It was good support, I thought, on the for the game as well. So, hopefully things are looking up. Let's just hope the international break hasn't come at the wrong time for us. Just sort of building a bit of momentum and all that, and then we have this 2-week break. But I think with a little injury to Potts, it could be a break that we may need if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. Look, it's mate. I'm just happy that we won. And you said it just gives us a better feel, doesn't it? Gives us a better feel.
100%, mate.
If we had done this video 2 weeks ago after losing to
we'd have
Brentford
done
and
it 2 weeks ago, I would have said 18th. It's our ceiling.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. It's fucking mad. But yeah, so I mean, when we look at it, obviously we'll get into positions and things like that. Just still thinking about how Nuno has turned it around, and how he's made us look like a completely different team, a team that I haven't seen in a long time. I think obviously, look, playing the right lineup is fucking most of the battle, right? Putting the right players on the pitch. But I don't think it's just that, because a lot of these players, the effort levels weren't there. They seemed checked out. They seemed defeated. We'd go a goal down and that was it. The floodgates would come in. I think a lot of it has to do with his man management. You're seeing all the thing about him putting the pictures of the players when they were kids, letting them remember what it was like to dream of being a player. And, he just seems to have really, I think, coaching wise, got these players to buy into what he's doing. I looked at Debo. Honestly, I hated him a few weeks ago. But now I'm seeing him put a shift in. And I can't believe it. It's a testament.
This is the thing. You look over these last couple of games, as I said, after the Newcastle game, one of the things we were saying pre the Newcastle game was that we needed leaders. And as I said, back looking at the Newcastle game, him, was there standing up, being counted at the back, communicating and commanding the defence. Again, we saw it against Burnley. A completely different player, a player that looks remotely like the amount of money that we've paid for him. We always knew he had the potential to have the talent, but now, like you said, he seems to have bought into Nuno. He seems to believe in Nuno, and it's good to see. I still don't fully believe in Nuno. After what I saw the 2 previous games, he's picked the teams for the last 2 games that, let's be honest, you should have picked in the first thing. Potter should have picked this team way back at the start of the season. So it's not rocket science that he's come in and done, but like you said, he's just installed a belief into some of these players, and that's what we need. We need a bit of belief. Like I said, the players have offered lackluster performances, have not been there, have not been putting the sprints in, not been working hard enough, and that's the big change over these past 2 games. Is that work rate, that belief in their own ability, the resilience that we've seen. And like you said, maybe that is down to his man management because you know we're no different tactically to where we was under David Moyes. Now it's very, very similar. The styles of play and what the type of manager is. I was saying this to people around me the other day. It is very much Moyes 2.0. This is what I'm starting to see. And look, at the end of the day, if it works, it works at the situation we're in now. But we need to be now already planning for the future. And look, as I said, I'm not going to be negative. I'm just going to sit here and say that it's a little bit better, but time will tell. So this is it. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Been 2 great wins, completely changes the mood about the place. But we need to keep it up. It's going to be hard.
He's been likened to Moyes quite a bit as Lopetegui and things like that. But I mean, just going on the last 2 performances, barring the Arsenal game, even. But I look at the Everton game, I look at the Newcastle game, I look at the Burnley game. I wouldn't say I was bored watching us. I wouldn't say it was shit football. Like, it weren't, pet ball, pinging the ball around. But when we was on the ball, we moved the ball well. We moved the ball quickly and decisively. My big issue with Moyes was those later years when he tried to transition to possession base and we just passed it sideways backwards, right? So there was no point where I was watching the game. People who watch the watch along will know where I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. Like, and yeah, we may not, have had the possession stats. And if you look at all the stats, it doesn't come out in our favor of being an attacking team. But that's not what it was always about. Like I said, Moyes in COVID, when we was counterattacking, thoroughly entertained. It's about what you do with the ball for me.
Yeah. And this is the thing. This is the thing. This is where it could be a better transition. But it's unfortunately we've had to go back to basics. The lineup is the right lineup. It's the basics that we were doing wrong, and these are the things that we need to start putting right. We defended set pieces a lot better in the last couple of games as well, which is really good to see. Again, I think players stepping up to the mantle, players being dominant and commanding in their individual positions. I think that's helped all around. There's still work to do. But we can do that, and we can. In these last 2 games, we've seen it. We've just got to consistently see it, and the time will tell when we start losing the odd player to an injury or things like that. Look, as I said, hopefully Potts isn't anything too serious. Someone said in the chat it's a dead leg. Him and Fernandes have been an absolute revelation.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest positives I'm taking out of these.
Oh,
that was a nail in the coffin for certain players in the midfield, but it's then forced the hand to play these 2 youngsters in the midfield. Magassa getting game time the other day as well. He's another one that we've got to be looking at. They're the 3 mainstays in the midfield. They're the 3 that we've got to keep going. We don't want to be reverting back to the Rodriguez's and the Irvings. They're the 3 we want to keep in our midfield and then improve from there.
Yeah, 100%. And with Paqueta out, if Potts is fit for the Bournemouth game, then Magassa comes in next to Potts, in my opinion. And then you push Fernandes further up.
So it frees him up a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he'll fit that role well while Paqueta's out. Like, now looking at where this team could realistically finish in terms of I know this is different to where we think we'll finish. And we can talk, we'll give our predictions on where we think we'll finish, but where could, what's our ceiling? What's the most we can expect? Shout out to James E20 Zone TV, £5 super chat. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Check out E20 Zone TV. Keep up the excellent work on West Ham Fan TV. Appreciate you, mate. I hope you're having a good evening, my friend. Much love for that. So, in terms of ceiling, I look at it. Football's a funny old game. It's a fucking funny old game. A couple of weeks ago, I was on here, mate, saying, we're going down. We're getting relegated. Anyone heard that? What I'm about to say next, people are going to go, what? But I look at it. Okay, so we've got 10 points and we're in 18th.
Mm-hmm.
We are 8 points off of fifth place, right?
Yep.
I'm not saying we get fifth place, right? But realistically, I think Europe is a stretch. I will say that. I think Europe is
Mm-hmm.
definitely going to be a stretch. You think? But I think a top 10 finish is achievable, right?
Yep.
I think that's achievable because you look at it, right? The teams above us, I think we're finishing above Burnley. I think we're finishing
Mm-hmm.
above Leeds. I think we're
Yep.
finishing above Fulham, right? Those are the teams above us. We're 2 points behind Newcastle, and they're in Champions League,
Mm.
and they're screaming "how out" a lot of their fans, not everyone.
Which is
Um,
madness, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Everton we're 5 points off of. They're hit and miss, and I'm not saying we're
Mm-hmm.
better than them, but I'm not saying it's impossible. Like to us finish above them, right? There's a chance there.
Yep.
Brentford decent. Palace are in Europe. I just think I look at it. Liverpool, Man United. So Liverpool are eighth, right? I think ninth is our ceiling. That's where Bournemouth are. Obviously,
Yeah.
they had a bad loss the other day. Ninth is, I think, the highest we can expect this season, and that's not me putting limit. I'm saying that's realistic. I think ninth
Mm.
is achievable because with you look at our team, right? We're out of Carabao. We're not in Europe. Yes,
Yep.
people are concerned about our squad depth, but a lot of other teams have got that, and the teams we compete with are in Europe. So, that is, I think, top 10 is achievable.
Yeah. And mate, I said this before. I said with the current crop of players, the right manager can get us top 10. Right. And this is the thing, and it's not going to be easy. I think if we can get to around 14th and have a
Hmm.
good January window, I think 10th to 9th is possible. We
Yes.
just so I think the key thing is now we're going to the games we've got coming up. We need to get the odd point that we're not expecting. Going to Bournemouth's not going to be anything, not going to be easy. They've had a pretty decent start to the season, but making sure we beat the teams in and around us now. That's the
Yeah.
key factor. The Fulhams, the Wolves, the the Burnleys, teams like that. Making sure we beat them because I do feel that squad wise we are better than them players. They're better than them teams. Fulham are a bit fee because I do like Fulham squad. They've got a decent squad. It's just not clicking for them at the minute.
But
But
yeah, they know their manager's leaving at the end
yeah,
of the season. Right.
yeah, and we've been we've fallen foul of that before and seen what it's like. So it's tough to get a tune out of all the players. Like you said, with Palace got a great squad, good manager, thinking about Europe. And these are the things we've got to take advantage of that we haven't got that. And as I said, if we can get 14th, 13th, 14th by January and invest in the right areas, get the right players in, we can definitely finish inside the top 10.
Look, the inevitable comment did come. You was all saying we're getting relegated 2 weeks ago. What did I say? Football.
Two
It
weeks, two
changes.
weeks is a big thing.
It's a long 2 weeks is a long time in football. It's a long time, right? So what do you want me to do? Come here and say we're still getting relegated, and then I just like, well, why can you think that? Like, you can't win, right? You stick to your guns and you be stubborn. You can't win. If you change your opinion, you lose. Like it's lose lose lose. Yeah, honestly, it's that's people for you. But I just got to be honest, and that's how I felt at the time. But Nuno, he turned things around. So now I adjust. I'm not saying it's impossible that we go down, but I just look at, like I said, the possibilities of the team if we keep performing like this. And like what you said is key there, Scott. We need to be in and around the pack, right? A few points off of that top 10 position going into January. And what we do in January, and I never have faith in Sullivan in January, but hopefully if Nuno can get a couple of his players in, and then that gives us an extra push. A top 10 finish is possible. I mean, look, you get mid-table. I think if we finish mid-table, that's really positive.
Yeah. The thing is,
We was 14th last season, weren't we?
yeah, but that's
Improve
the
on
thing.
that. Happy days.
Yeah, when you look at it, we're looking for a bit of progression. We didn't really get that after we said goodbye to Moyes, there was no real progression. We sort of stumbled our way and then fell backwards, and we started this season going backwards. It's we need a bit of stability now. This is the thing now, and I think that under Nuno, what I've seen the last 2 games now, and this is our 2 games completely changed. 4 weeks ago, I'm calling him a fraud. Now I'm sitting there saying, he's not fully turned around, not fully convinced me, but I'm seeing positive signs. I'm seeing a difference, and this is what I want to see. And now, just a bit of stability. Creep up, quietly go about your business, beat the teams you need to beat, and work your way in. But I said it needs to be key. If we don't invest in January, we're not going to finish inside that top 10. I think if we don't invest in January, I think we're going to be 16th, 17th.
This is it. The worry is, right, so say we go into January and we're comfortably away from the relegation zone. They'll go, we don't. There's no point. We don't need to spend. We don't need to bring anyone in. And then we just, you know what I mean, just have a really lackluster end to the season. Like, I want us to, even if you think about it and you think, well, what can we realistically? I mean, every place is a few mil when you look at it, a bit more prize money. You know what I mean? The difference between 14th and 12th is probably a good few million. So there's a positive there, but it's also the positive of us having a strong positive end to the season and not just petering out. Like, I don't care if we're like 10 points off the relegation zone. Go and think about ending the season strong. We started the season shit. We end strong. That positivity carries into the next season, like it did for Leicester when they won the league. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the league next year. I bloody hope so. But I'm not saying that. So that's key. But the next sort of 3 games are going to really tell us where this team is, right? Because if we're in these games, it's not just about the results, but if we're competing. Nuno always makes a big thing about competing. If we're competing against Burnley, we're competing against Villa, Man United, and then you end up getting beat. You can look at it and say, yeah, we're able to really give these teams a game and go toe to toe and not just get rolled over. Then you think different. Okay, we are a different team. If we're still nowhere near these teams when we face them, then you go, well, yeah, we are. Maybe we are still crap, and those were just 2 bad performances from the opposition. But I think we've been good the past 2 games.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Look, we probably in spells we wasn't the better side on Saturday. I thought Burnley, up until we scored, I think Burnley were probably just shading it as the better side, especially in the opening half hour. I think Burnley were a bit better than what we were, but at the end of the day, as we've said before, under a lot of managers, it's not always about having the ball all the time. It's about defending right and doing right when you've got the ball. And we did that. And when we went 1-0 up, from then on, I think we dominated a bit. No, sorry, we didn't go 1-0, did we? We went 1 down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but when we got our noses in front, we were the better side. And that was the difference. But I said it's slow progress, and that's what we need to see. Baby steps.
Yeah,
we're not trying to run. We're getting the basics correct, not trying to run, and that's the right thing to do, and that's what we need.
Let's 100%, mate. Let's get some comments in. I've been starring all your comments. You think we're ignoring you? You think, oh yeah, we're not going to reply to you? Don't worry, I'm starring them in the background. We pick our moments. But before we get into that, obviously, big thank you once again to OK Jerseys. £15 shirts, 8% off. So even cheaper if you use code Nicky. Go get your shirts. I'm here. I've got the 3rd kit on. Scott has the Iron Maiden, sort of based on the 99 2001 era away shirt. So, like I said, they do all your West Ham, your new, your old, your internationals. I see we got Eltel's an Everton fan. They do the Everton shirts, the classics from the glory years. All of that stuff. So do go check it out and just use code Nicky. It does support the channel, but also, look, there you go. Get some in time for Christmas. Good quality. See, good stuff. And they do some Larry ones. I don't know if I've got my Larry one in the hand, as people like to see. So yeah, big thank you to OK Jerseys. Shout out to Sharky, who's 3-month anniversary as a member. Thank you all for supporting the memberships. We have some more bits coming up, and hopefully Nicky's got some gems for us from Prague. I haven't heard from him since he's gone out there, but thank you to all of our members. We appreciate the support. Yes. So looking at speaking of OK Jersey Sharks, says Scott wearing the 99 2000 away kit always reminds me of Paolo One Chop. It is, like I said, the Iron Maiden version. So Matt Rainey says, Dan, just saw your new video. Who the F is that guy? I don't watch daytime TV shows. Looks like a soft lad. I did a reaction to Mark Wright from The Only Way is Essex reality show, saying that David Sullivan's an amazing person, amazing owner, all of that. So on Lawless Live, I did a reaction and just let my thoughts.
We can tell someone's been offered a freebie somewhere along the line, can't we?
Well, I literally, you look at the thumbnail, it's a picture of him in the ground with his little pass on and shit.
Yeah.
So no doubt he's been out on in Bas Vegas with the Brentwood or whatever it is with the Sullivan boys. No doubt. So go check that out after this show. Let's not get carried away. We're still not great. I'm going to say we're great, but the two performances I think were very good. I was very pleased with those performances. Now, it wasn't perfect performances, of course. There were still issues. But it was night and day compared to what we'd seen up until then.
Yeah.
It was like a different team.
Yeah. And that's the thing, mate. This is what we said. You see, like, the belief that the players have. You know, we've seen a different Tadibo. When Masaka seems to be getting back to his best. Juff, a few times defensively a little bit shaky, but, still a threat going forward. Fernandez, Potts, revelation. Paquetás, he didn't have the best game, but he's picked up, he's picking up the mantle and taking the charge. Bowen, probably, I thought, one of his worst games really against Burnley, but again, doing what Bowen does. Wilson's movement, mate, was just, he adds so much. And that's what it is. Individuals are doing the right things. Individuals are raising their game. Individuals are doing it. And that, like you said, comes from the coaching, comes from the man management of the manager.
Yeah, 100%. Mark Wright, didn't he play for England? No way. He played in the England versus rest of the world game, I think.
He didn't. Who did he play for that was non-league? Because his brother plays for him. And he played for him in the FA Cup, I think.
Yeah, didn't he play for like some lower league team?
I don't know whether was it
Crawley? He's played for Southend, 0 appearances, 0 goals. Lewes, 7 appearances, 0 goals. Grays Athletic, Crawley Town, 9 appearances. Yeah, 9 appearances. Rushden and Diamonds, 3 appearances. Fisher Athletics, Thurrock, Bishop Stortford. And a lot of these are not many. Oh, and then he went back to Crawley Town in 2020, made 62 appearances. Mm-hmm. England International, England C. He represented teams that represent England at non-league level.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. That's what it is.
He's a local lad to me because he comes from around here, doesn't he? Where I live. So.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Have a word if you see him.
Lives out. Where's he live out? He lives a little further out now. Funny enough, where I was looking to move to, but I'm not going there now. So,
no, fair enough. Irvin got a Scotland call up. Why? They must be really starved.
Listen. Irvin's not my favourite player, right? I think we've established that, but the guy has got a space. If he's Scott Prem level, isn't he? He can go there.
Did you say Scotch?
Scott. He's Scott Prem level.
Oh, he's Scotch. There's Scottish people watching ain't going to be happy with that.
But he is. He's Scottish Premier League level all day long. He can fit into a lot. He can probably play for every team in that division. And Scotland.
Oh, sorry, Mark.
Good, yeah, they're not very good. So he can go there and he can do a good job in.
I suppose it doesn't necessarily mean he's starting. He's in the squad, you know. And I think when you look at that squad, He's played a few games in the Premier League, so that's enough to earn you a call up for Scotland.
The thing is, Dan, he's not awful. He's just not Premier League level.
No.
That's the difference.
Yeah, he's just slow as fuck. Like, he's
But again, if you put him in the Scotland team with the right players around him, he'd be fine. He's just not cut out for the Premier League. I'm sorry. He's meant to be a great guy. He trains hard. He trains well. He's a decent lad. But
can you name 5 Scottish players, Scott? Your name is Scott as well.
Gilmore, McTominay, Adams. Does Irving count?
You can Irving if you want. Yeah.
Robertson.
There you go. Yeah, well done, Scott. It's in his name. Chandler 77 with a £5 super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Get Antonio back to play up front with his mate Wilson. Oh, mate. Mate, I wouldn't pay him that £5 super chat. I wouldn't pay him that. And I love him to bits, but he's finished. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, he is. Look, he's done fantastically well to get back to playing football, but no, not if we end up in February having to bring back Antonio, mate, we've had a terrible January.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, mate. Do you know what? Irons TV, Rev 5, shout out to him because he's put a point in. This is something that I'd been planning to bring up, right? In a few weeks' time after a few games under our belt. But he says, can we put to bed the Bowen captain nonsense? And this is something I wanted to, because it was made a big deal out of it. I had a big Barney with Nicky on the channel, some may remember, over it, because I just felt like too much was being made of our issues and it being down to Bowen being the captain. And it was overplayed, and yet Bowen, I don't think, has been our best player in the last couple of wins that we had. He has been our best player over the portion of the season. He carried us during that shit period, was banging in the goals. But I don't think I can say, well, it's because he's captain, and taking the captaincy off him is going to solve all of our problems and we're going to suddenly be better. I just think people just made too much of a meal out of it. I don't know about you, I think it's right. I think we need to just stop that nonsense now.
The thing is with Bowen, I've said this all along. He wouldn't be my pick for captain. I've said that from when he first got the captaincy. I don't think he's captain material. The only thing he does in anything is he does try and lead by example. He does put the effort in. No matter how bad he's playing or how bad the team are playing, Bowen's one of the shining lights normally. And as I said, I thought Burnley didn't have his best game, but he was still a 6 out of 10. He was still there. He still caused problems, and that's what you need. I just don't think he's. For me, I don't see him as a captain. That's my opinion. I'm very the old school. The captain should be someone at the back or someone in goal. It's got, or centre mid. Got to be a leader. Got to be the bollock and biter. Got to be the person that wears. That's there commanding everybody.
Yeah, but they're so rare now, Scott. It's so rare in football.
Yeah, they are. But it's. I just think that you can breathe that. You can get players like that who are commanding and who are dominant, and that's what we need.
Yeah, but like I said, not a lot of clubs have that now. Not a lot of clubs have it. Odegaard certainly isn't one of those at Arsenal.
But I think when you look at someone like Arsenal, a player like Saliba, a player like Declan Rice, they're more of a captain than what Odegaard is.
They're more of a captain than what Odegaard is, but I don't think they're necessarily them type of players. In fact, Rice was getting slated as captain of West Ham. He's not captain. He's not captain. He shouldn't be the captain. It was the same story.
See, I sort of disagree. I think Rice was right, but Rice was learning to be a captain. Do you know what I mean? There's you've got to sometimes look at that. Some people were born leaders. Yeah, John Terry for Chelsea, he was a born leader.
Yeah, but we go back to if we're looking at examples now in the Prem, how many captains that you'd look at and go, yeah, that club in the Prem, they have that caliber of captain. I don't think I really struggle to find it. Maybe Granit Xhaka, obviously, but he's coming in as a big fish in a small pond. I think he's shown leadership there. Gahey, it definitely isn't that for Palace.
Jordan Henderson, sure. That type of player.
What? Who?
Jordan Henderson, he's a type of player.
Jordan Henson, yeah, but again, he's coming in as an
Yeah, yeah,
experienced top
yeah,
level player
yeah.
in a smaller team, you know, and he still comes across a bit laid back to me, Henderson, but he's
Mm,
experienced. He can
yeah,
lead in a different way. But yeah, I just think it's we're constantly digging out Bowen
yeah.
for not being what hardly any captain is in the Premier League,
Mm.
and
Yeah, no,
I think that's unfair.
yeah, I think I get your point, mate. But as I said, I don't. When I look around that squad, there's not many leaders there. You know,
No,
there's we've started seeing them in the last couple of weeks. We're starting seeing people, put their head above the parapet, being the ones that want to lead, being the ones that want to command. Potts, he's one that potentially could become a West Ham captain somewhere along the line. You watch him play, wants the ball. He's not scared. He's not
yeah.
hiding. Every time he stepped on that pitch and pulled on the shirt, he's stood up and been counted.
I think he's a
Where
few
other players,
years from being considered, though, to
of
have the.
course, of
He's
course,
a
and
good few years
mate,
away.
I'm not sitting there saying that he should be West Ham captain. I'm saying he's got the potential to be a captain.
I just
You
think,
know,
like, I just look in our team and everyone who wants the armband um, off Bowen can't really come up with a sensible name to put it on,
Hmm.
and that's the issue. So if there isn't someone that you can say, well, he's miles better than Bowen as a captain, or he would be miles better than Bowen as a captain to put it on, then what's the point of
Yeah,
taking the captain of Bowen? And says Lawrence is Bowen. I think Bowen is growing into it. I think he is, and I'm seeing him a little bit more like, put his arm around players and that. He's not a sort of captain that's going to scream and shout at people, but he has his way, I think, and I think the team respect him, and I think
hmm.
that's important, So we don't have the clear old school definitive leader,
Yeah.
but I do think Irons is right. Too much is made of that.
Yeah, of course it is,
Um,
this is the thing, though, mate. As well, like you said, when you're looking at it, the chips are down. Who's the player, barring Suchek? Who's the player that stepped up?
yeah,
And it has been Bowen, and he is leading by example in his performances.
yeah, because that's the thing, mate. Well, it's one thing, right? If you're a captain
Yeah,
and you're not putting in the performances, who the fuck's going to listen to you anyway, right?
exactly.
But to have someone who go, well, shit, like you can literally look at him. He's our best player. He's scoring goals every week or every other week. He's, helping us win games. Like he doesn't have to scream and shout at you. He just sits there and says, lads, we need to up these effort levels. And you're looking at him and going, he's the best player. He's the man. Yeah, I respect
I
it.
want to throw. Yeah, exactly. I want
Yeah,
to throw
I
his
wanna
example.
throw- respect.
He's the one that's going to run
Yeah,
through walls.
that's it.
And yeah, and sometimes that is what you need. If you've
Yeah,
not got that natural leader there, you need the players that Suchek runs full walls here. The guy bleeds claret and blue now. He's like he's now an adopted West Ham United. What's the word I'm looking
yeah.
for? But you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's almost like he's come through our academy. Like,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It feels like it.
Suchek embodies the spirit of West Ham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'll die for the cause. Mate, I've seen the amount of cuts and backed up times that players put his head where it
Yeah.
matters or things like that. Again, it's what you want to see. It's what you should be inspired by.
Yeah. I think if Suchek was a few years younger, had more legs, slightly better player, he would be an excellent captain. Like, just because I mean, in terms of he can lead by example in that way, and the people look at him and go, wow, he's one of our best players. And Nobes game wasn't. There was many times where he hasn't been our best player in any period. There's probably maybe a couple of periods where you can say he was our best, but it's very rare. I think it's very rare a season where Noble's been our best player. But the sort of person he was, and the captain he was, and the effort he earned respect. And people respected him as Mr. West Ham. So yeah, it's an interest. But yeah, I think Irons TV's right. I think it's fruitless. I mean, put that to bed. Rich West Ham, £5 super chat. Thank you very much, Rich. Good seeing you at the protest, mate. Says just watch the video with Mark, not a celebrity. Wrong, my blood's boiling, prick. Mate, I had to really try to fucking not say everything I wanted to say in that video, mate. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to oh mate, I really am trying, but fucking hell.
The
What
thing
a
is, right, it
disgrace.
says everything when your PR has become Mark Wright.
Yeah, I know, innit? I know. They've got the
That's
depth
no
they'll think.
disrespect. That's no disrespect to Mark Wright, right? From what I know, from what I've been
Massive
told about the
disrespect.
guy, he's a nice fella, right? But yeah, if you're looking because all the usual PR that Sullivan gets, all these people are no longer backing him. That you're reverting to getting people like Mark Wright to sing your praises. There's something wrong.
Yep. Eltel, the Everton Eltel, not the West Ham Eltel. We got two. Says, see what happens when you don't boycott and get behind your team, protest in the ground and outside the ground. It works. Everton did. You're not going down. You be sound. Right. I appreciate that sentiment, but I look at the Brentford game. We did boycott.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that we lost that game because we boycotted. It's because we
Yep.
won. We put out a shit team, and the team we did put out just were miles off it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did protest in the ground at the end for the Newcastle game, and we won that game. And we played very well. And then we protested, and I know that's not what you're saying, so don't protest at all, but we protested before the Burnley game, and we went and smashed Burnley. So, yeah, I slightly disagree with that. I get what you're saying. Get behind the team. I don't think anyone's been not behind the team.
No,
That it's just we're just trying to do different things to get the message out. You know, it's not just a march before this game, a march before that game, a march. Everyone's just trying to do different things to get attention. Because I think if you do a march before every game, the media soon get bored and you don't get attention. It's like, oh, the boycott. Oh, this state's doing a sit-in. Oh, there's this bigger march. Like, you got to keep trying different things. And this was the other thing, right? And I said, go check out that video on All Live after this. But I said, Mark Wright says at the end of the video, he basically was like, yeah, look, we win 3 games. Let's see if they're protesting then. This is why it's so important. No matter what happens on the pitch, we have to keep protesting because that's what they think. They think, they're not that serious. Few wins, they'll lose interest. Win, lose, or draw, we got to keep it up.
And this is the thing, mate. And as we said, you know, in a lot of the gripes and all that, they did go away a little while, but that was because what you see on the pitch was exciting, was good, was, you know, as we said, the stadium's always been crap. It was crap when we were doing really well, and it's crap even now. But the problem is when you're doing well, you put up with the crap.
Yeah.
You know, that was the thing. It was when we was in Europe, we put up with it. But it's still, the regime is overall the problem. You know,
we've always wanted to believe that things could get better, you know, and everything would improve and the stadium would get better. But yeah, it's I think now we've
that was the thing, the lack of vision, right? During the time when we were in Europe, that is what's led us to the path that we're on now. Because if the vision was right and the forward thinking was right from the regime, you know, look, listen, none of us would still be happy with the stadium. None of us still be happy with Sullivan in charge, right? But if they got things right when we were buzzing, when we were in Europe 3 seasons on the spin and all that, that was their time to push forward, and they chose not to. They chose to just sit still and not think beyond the next season, as they always do. And this is what's led us back to where we are now. And this is why we are so now even more fed up with the regime that's in charge, because we had that opportunity to progress and move forward, and fulfill the potential that the support and the club has got. But we didn't. We stood still and went backwards. And that's why we are where we are now.
Yeah, and Irons is right. Like, the atmosphere for everything I'm hearing was the best it's been in a long time. And that's because you had a load of fans turned up for a protest and was like, well, I'm going to the protest, might as well go to the game. And went to the game, took that atmosphere that started outside into the protest, into the stadium, and it changes. And this is the problem is that they've driven off all the fans that are going to make noise, like most of the fans that are going to make noise, they've driven them away. And, you know, that's the issue. And people say, well, then the fans should get in there and support. It's not, you know, if we're so crucial to the performances, they should be doing everything, not to make us want to come back, not to say, oh, well, regardless, we have to be there. We have to spend our money and do it. It's our duty. Like, we're in the army. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
shit. So yeah, like look, we have to do what we have to do to get them out. But that just was a little reminder of this is what you've driven away. This is what you've pushed out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you spot them.
And the thing is, as well, mate, I think the opposition that we were playing allowed that because you had less non-West Ham fans in there.
Yeah,
You know,
there was
and
still
the thing is,
some. I did see some. Yeah, speak some.
yeah, I hate using the terminology tourist, right? But I don't count because I know we get a lot of West Ham fans from abroad watching us and things like that,
No, they're
right?
not tourists.
And that's the thing. I don't count people who live in America, live in Australia, live whatever nationality. I think the Belgium members were there.
They were there. I met them. Yeah, I met up with them.
This weekend. I don't class them as tourists. They're West Ham fans. When we refer to tourists, they're the people that just buy a ticket to go and watch. They don't care. They just want to have the experience up into the Premier League. That's
Yeah. And the thing is,
that nullify the atmosphere.
Yeah, and I don't think tourists themselves are bad, like them, because if Nicky went to see PSG, if I was abroad and if I was in Spain and there was an El Clasico on, I'd want to go to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do my best to help make some noise. I would try and do better and not just be, But
Dan,
I think it's the big thing for me. It ain't even like just like someone coming from China and taking in a game. The worst thing for me are the fucking Man United fans, the Arsenal fans, and the Chelsea fans. I think you do get West Ham tourists, right? And what a West Ham tourist to me is someone that's like doesn't watch all the games on the telly, doesn't follow the team, but will say West Ham's their team, and I'll just go. But they're not as passionate as everyone else. They're not as passionate as the fans that are in Australia or America, even that stay up till silly o'clock to watch it and follow all the results. You know that you've seen them. You know the ones that they have a team and they go to watch that team because it's cheap and they make it a day out. They're West Ham fans, but to me they're still tourists.
Yeah, I get you, mate. I get you. The thing is, we've all been and watched a game of football. It's not our team, but as I said, you join in. We were both there. There was that lady from Korea that time who was there on her. She got right involved in everything, in the chants, a lot.
Yeah, love it.
You want the full experience if you're going. Like I think someone said, there's a day tripper. You want that full experience. I've been to Palace before and watched Palace when they beat Chelsea. I weren't shouting and screaming because I'm not a Palace fan, but when Palace scored, I stood up, I applauded.
Yeah.
You do that when you go to places.
Yeah,
same as if you go to lower leagues.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the way to go. But listen, there's definitely no one in this chat watching this video that could be considered a tourist because you've gone well beyond the fucking the casual. But you're watching two fucking twats talking about West Ham, and so it definitely don't feel like we're applying it to anyone because it's more than a lot of these people would do. So
listen, there's a lot of people who support football teams that never get the opportunity to go and see them.
Yeah,
doesn't make them any less a fan than what I am or what you are. There's diehard fans who are there week in, week out, who home and away all the time. They're a West Ham fan. Someone who sits and watches it from their armchair week in, week out. They're a West Ham fan. We're all fans.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about being in the ground. I'm getting slated now because I'm not at the games, and some people want to slate me because even though I've fucking spent thousands of pounds, but it's not about that. Like if you follow your team wherever you are in the world and you really care and you put in time, and even sometimes you might not be able to watch all the games, but you fucking care. You'll live and die by the results. That's a proper fan of the team. That's not a tourist. That's not a tourist. Is someone who's like I look at it right. And I have, like my nan, for example. I have West Ham get on. She turned up, she'd be a tourist, right? Like my nan, but I'm like, get the fuck out, nan, you're a tourist. No, I'll never speak to my nan like that. But but you get people like that, innit? They're associated with West Ham. They go, I have a soft spot. That's kind of my team, but I don't really live and die by the results.
Yeah.
Like for the rest of us, like Lawrence here, lives in Lexington, it probably ruins his day. When West Ham play shit, it's probably like fuck's sake, same as Iron Brute, like all of these international fans as much as us. So So that's what I wanted to make clear. I'll get through some of these other ones real quick. There's an interesting rumor. I'll get to Randy's. I think it was Mr. London line. Hi guys, things are looking up recently. I predict 14th to 17th next year. We need to improve. I hope so. My mate Wolfie, the Forest fan, says Nuno does good with a preseason. Paul G, we need a huge window. JWP, Guido, Fulkrug out before we will spend much on new players. Not easy shifting Deadwood. Don't we know it, mate? Because that Deadwood is massively overpaid, all on over £100 a week. So, yeah, that's the fucking problem. My opinion is, think West Ham will finish 13th. Give me 12th, 13th. Yeah, it's unlucky. Give me a 12th. Dan Scott, how you both feeling about the 6 games? It will be telling. It's a tough run. Do you know what, Scott? Right, let's get through this quick. Right, it's rather us going deep. Right, I will read the games out. Then let's give everyone a points prediction.
Yep.
All right, how many points we're getting out of these games? So remember these games: Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home, Man United away, Brighton at home, Brighton away, Villa at home, Man City away. How many points are we getting out of that?
I'm going to be confident. So what's that? 6 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses.
2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses.
Yeah.
Who are the 2 losses?
Man City and Man United.
Okay. Who are the 2 draws?
Bournemouth and Villa.
We're beating Liverpool at home.
Beating Liverpool.
Brighton away.
Yep. Beating Liverpool, beating Brighton.
So that's 8 points in our next 6.
Yeah.
I was going to say 6. A win, 2 draws.
I think Liverpool are there. Mate, I think Liverpool are there for the beating. I don't think Man United are, even though they're hot and cold sometimes. But I think Liverpool are there for the beating.
I think we'll draw to Liverpool. Actually, I feel like we'll draw. Bournemouth are there for the taking. Could we get 3 on the spin? That's a bit bad, though. But yeah, Brighton, we could potentially. There's a few that have draws written on it. It's so hard to predict because, like I said, we've got these 2 wins. We don't know where we really are. It's a tough one you've put us in there, mate. Chat GPT has a 0.02% chance of us winning the league. Stick some money on that. So how will be our starting fullbacks during AFCON? Skulls and KWP, Dino maybe. Hopefully Skulls will be. I don't know how long Skulls is out, but yeah, that's the natural fit. Skulls and KWP. Obviously, Mavropanos can play right back at a push.
I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want to see Mavropanos at right back.
No, but if Skulls is injured, if Skulls is still injured, then you have to play him there, and you have to play Walker Peters left back.
And this is the thing for me. This is where we didn't really letting Emerson go was a big mistake. That could come back to bite us in the backside because Skulls has done pretty decent. He hasn't done decent under Nuno. As I said, for me, Nuno destroyed his confidence by putting him in the position that he put him in, and obviously it didn't lead to the injury, but the injury is not going to help. Cole Walker-Peters, seems very professional in the way he goes about things. Has performed well when he's come into the side. So if we lose Wan-Bissaka, then he's a good understudy. It's very concerning on that left. Juff offers a lot going forward.
We saw how much of a loss he was during Brentford and Leeds game.
Yeah,
he played for Leeds, didn't he? Played against Leeds,
but that's the little bit of a worry. So it'd be interesting to see. He's putting a lot of pressure on Skulls, but I think in his natural position, I think Skulls can be again a good understudy there.
Hopefully he's back fit because we need him. So here's an interesting rumor. Mr. London 9 said, rumor has it Brady could be sacked. I just can't see it. Like for Sullivan to sack her, like you got to think they've known each other for probably about 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
and working together. Like, there's probably very few people that Sullivan trusts more than Brady.
Yeah.
So
She
unless,
would have to have done something very, very wrong to be sacked.
yeah, that's it. Or some things are going to come out, and she's walking rather than being. She don't want to be connected to it. There's a lot there. Like for Sullivan, for Sullivan to sack. There's so many times where you think, well, he could have sacked her and taken the PR of going, look, she's the sacrificial lamb, as Kaz says. He's had plenty of opportunities to do that. Like, so for that to happen, there has to be something big. He's not just going to sack her because there's protests.
No.
Unless he does, and that shows the protests are really powerful. But for me, some people are happy with Brady out. Like, I don't care if Brady. Like, listen, I want Brady gone, but it doesn't stop until Sullivan's gone. Sullivan is the main issue. Like, nothing changes.
Brady's the mouthpiece, isn't it? Brady's the one that she's the business one. You know, she's got a bit more of a business brain in some sense. You know, but I said it'd be a very, very big thing. Very big thing.
This is it. Brady must have some serious shit on him. Like, she knows where the bodies are buried, so metaphorically speaking. So, you know, there's no way like he would sack her if she weren't willing to be sacked. As in, and we're talking about sacked. It could be we pay you off, we'll pay you to leave type of thing. And she's like, yep, pay me off, whatever. There's no way a straight up, like, unceremonious, you're sacked, like, because she knows a lot of shit about him, for sure. So he wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of it, I don't think.
Definitely not.
So there'd be working together. Potts hamstring is hard to say. Someone said he had a dead leg.
Yeah, I think it
is a dead leg.
I think I've seen a couple of people saying a dead leg. He wasn't walking too bad when he come onto the pitch at the end of the game to applaud the fans. You know, when you're hamstring, it's a big difference when your hamstring goes.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, that was the positive. I like Brady. I met her and she struck me as quite intimidating and charming. That's the people you don't trust, like Charlie. Like, they show you what they want you to see. She's an intelligent woman, right? She's smart. So don't trust her. I've heard a lot of people that work for her say a lot of unflattering things about what she's really like.
A master manipulator.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so Paul says, I have faith in 9 out of 11 starters. I'm not convinced by Kilman and Todibo, not just when depending, but becoming a threat from corners and set pieces. They've been much improved, Kilman and Todibo, but as with Paul, I'm not convinced yet. I need to see, and there's still some issues there with the pair of them, but they've been much improved. But I need to see more from them for me to be sold on him.
I think Kilman moving to this right centre back and Todibo to the left centre back tells me that I think once Dinos is back, he's going to slot in and be partner Todibo in the back line
over Kilman. I mean, like, the past 2 games, I think Todibo's been the better centre back. To be fair.
Yep. Far more consistent in these 2 games. Far more better, as said, been a bit of a leader as well at the back. You know what we've needed. So it's just seems could be a shrewd move by Nuno with that, because obviously we know Dinos plays as the right centre half. So you know it could be that. It could be that. Could be the reasoning why.
Thoughts on Kante, Mo Kante? I think we need to start getting him in the squad. If Potts is injured, I want to see him at least on the bench. All right. If Potts is really injured and out, then I want to see him in and around the city, because I just think he's going to be raw still, and he's not going to be the finished article. But I think he has attributes that can benefit from us, benefit us. I mean.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the thing, mate. He's doing well with the under 21s or the under 23s, whatever the class has, and this is the thing. Sometimes you've got to keep an eye on the youth and give them their opportunities. This is where sometimes we falter far too long. we've not given players the correct opportunities when they're performing well in the what's now classed as the reserves. It's the whole reason of having them players there is you call upon them when they're needed. He's playing very, very well for the under-21s. And I think he's head and shoulders above a lot of the other players there. And this thing, when you look back a couple of seasons, we won the FA Youth Cup. How many of them players went to break through or are still at the football club?
No.
He
was doing well at Luton, apparently.
Yeah, and Mabama's now found his feet at Stoke. Seems to be performing well for them. But Potts is the only one that's really broken through. Skulls, you could say.
Skulls has broken through, yeah.
And this is the thing. This is where you've got to take the better talented players and try and give him the opportunity. We're not sitting there saying that he's the answer. He's going to solve all our problems. But I think we would all rather see Kante give it a go in the squad, or on the bench, over the likes of Irving.
There's massive, Rodriguez and that. Yeah. There's massive potential there.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Rodriguez in his defence, if you sit and watch when Souček come on the other day, right on Saturday, Rodriguez was there, sort of geeing him up. He might not be the best player, but he's a good team player by the looks of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need. So I'm not going to be all doom and gloom on. Well, I don't want to see him playing anymore, unless we're desperate. But you've got to have that right attitude when you're not in the side, and he seems to be another one that seems to have that better attitude.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Kaz says, didn't Bill Gardner say things are happening? Yeah. So there was a clip that I saw. And I should have asked someone about this at the protests. Like I was too busy chatting to a lot of people that were in this group, in this live chat. Now I was chatting to so many people, I didn't actually get a chance to catch up with Bubbles and that and get to the front. I ended up so far behind where I was just chatting away, which was great. It was great to meet so many of you. But it was like something big's happening in January or something. So I am not privy to what that is. I haven't asked. I can ask. I probably won't be allowed to say it if I do ask, because if I was allowed to say it, then they would have said it. But I'll be very intrigued to see what they meant by that. Did they mean in the club? Did they mean in the protest? It sounded like they meant in the club. Maybe that Brady thing. But then why would the protesters be? I don't, I know a part of them are on the FAB, right? The Fan Advisory Board. So I don't know if they're privy to something and maybe they've had to sign an NDA or something like that. But it's obviously not enough to stop them from pushing with these protests. So
no, that's it. That's the thing. So it'd be interesting to see what that is.
Yeah, I'll be very interested. So like I said, all I'll say is whatever we're doing with this stuff, it's working, right? They're reacting to what we're doing with these protests. So things are happening. There's no reason for us to be like, what's the point? Change will happen. the Everton LTEL said it about, it worked for them. Newcastle, everything. Keep it on. So and we'll get what we wanted. And another thing, right, on the Mark Ryan thing, he said it was so fucking funny. He's slating the protest, right? And in the end, he's like, I think it's good because then it's, Sullivan can prove everyone wrong. It forces, then push Sullivan to prove them all wrong. And it's like, hang on, 1 minute you're talking negatively about the protest, then you're saying, well, then Sullivan can prove. So you're saying it's good. So us protesting is going to make Sullivan prove us wrong. So we should keep protesting then.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's what you're saying. And so Sullivan will never prove any of us wrong. He's never going to change his ways. He's never going to start, cheaping out on things and only signing managers out. So, they were out of contract and just, being too involved and just him sitting back. He's never going to do it. He's got to go.
Exactly, and that's the thing, mate. Sitting there, he's contradicted everything else he said by sitting there saying that, Sullivan's got to prove him wrong. So basically, you're admitting that Sullivan's done wrong.
Yeah,
in the first place.
So he has something to prove.
Yeah, he has something to prove. We ain't got nothing to prove. We've got the evidence of the wrongs that he's done. So what's the point he's got to prove?
But that's what I'm saying. One minute he's basically saying we shouldn't be protesting. Then he's saying, "Oh, I think it's good because then Sullivan pushed Sullivan to want to prove him wrong." And then that's when he was like, "And give it 3 wins, they'll stop protesting." Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go check that video out. But yeah, mate, good show. Good to talk about some positives, positivity.
Exactly,
It may
like
not last. 2 weeks from now, we might be back to we're getting relegated. We're going down. That's football. That's the life of a West Ham fan. That is it.
Most definitely, mate.
Bloody hell. Yeah. It's a mad one. So yeah, listen, thank you for watching. Do go check out your OK jerseys. Like I said, make sure it takes about, I think, 8 days or 10 days. Just leave enough time if you're buying any Christmas presents for the shirts. So do go check that out. And like I said, if you want to consider becoming a member, we're on the push to 100 members. I think we're on like 82 or 83. Jace did assure me he was going to be signing up, but I don't think he's done that yet, bastard. So, but yeah, so listen, we'll be back. We're going to have content coming up over the international break. So we will not be going anywhere. No break for us. No rest for the wicked. And yes, go check out the Lawless Live. You see my Sky Sports. I was on that Sky. I did my Sky Sports, I think. And then they got him later on, or he was on. I think he was on after me on this same show.
Yeah,
which was funny. So I was going out saying, "Yeah, the process are brilliant. Like it's doing great stuff." And then he's going and going, "No, I don't think we should be So do go check. You can see both those videos, the 2 sides of the argument on there. Yeah. So brilliant. Happy hammers.
Definitely.
And let's hope it continues. And we're going to be on top of things, and hopefully we get some real good news about Potts officially. And we'll be keeping on all these rumors about Brady and all these other bits and pieces happening. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you throughout the rest of the week. One thing left to say.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.